Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and I bet you can guess where we are. We are down here in these awesome studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Hey. Look, every once in a while, I do have some opportunities to do some really cool things, and I come across some folks that I've known maybe for a long time, and then they've done some cool things, and we get to come together at this table and share those moments with all of you guys out there, all the viewers, all the listeners, and this is pretty awesome. So I'm sure if you've watched any kind of reality TV, game show type stuff, you are very familiar with The Amazing Race. Obviously, you have Survivor, which is a big one that's been out there. Then you've got those other offshoots that are like Big Brother, American Idol, I don't know, you name them, they're all out there. They've been around for a while. Well, Amazing Race has been there for a minute. In fact, season 37 just wrapped up. I have two members from that race, but they are much more than just Amazing Race members. They're friends of mine from the Memphis Fire Department. I've actually known these guys for quite some time. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, I did not ever work for them, but I worked around them, so I know a good bit about them. And I'm going to introduce those guys to you. They're going to be Mark Crawford and Larry Graham. You are going to get a lot out of it. You're going to hear about what it was like being a firefighter in Memphis, some of their other extracurricular activities, and then, of course, we're going to jump into the topic that I know you guys want to hear about. What are the behind-the-scenes stuff? What's the cool stuff about Amazing Race we don't see out here in TV world? You're going to learn all about that, but I'm going to ask you stick around for just a second because I want to give a word to my amazing sponsors. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. Welcome back. All right, here we are. Mark Crawford, Mr. Larry Graham. Welcome to the Motivate Coach Camp podcast.
Good morning, Coach Chris.
How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing well. Great seeing you.
Yeah, you too, guys. Man, look, y'all look younger. How did you do it?
Retired.
Oh, that's what I'll do it for you every time.
Every time.
Got away from Memphis Fire Department.
Man, look, I got to be honest with you. It's a great career. I don't have to sell that to you guys, but at the same time, it is a nice, relaxing, deep breath once you walk away from that.
Yes, when you get to go to bed at night and don't hear the buzzers and have to hear the sirens all night. Because we were like you. We stayed in a busy area, and full night's sleep while you're at the station just
non-existent. Yeah, in fact, almost so much that if you happen to go a few hours without the tones going off, you wake up and you're like, did I miss it?
Yeah.
Did they go? I think they went off, didn't they?
You have to look around.
More than once, I walked into the bay looking around for people, and there was no tones. It's called PTSD of the tones. The tones are in your head constantly.
That's right.
That's a real thing. So let's start with you, Mark. Obviously, long time on the fire department. How many years?
Yes, with Memphis Fire Department, 28 and a half. When I retired, moved to Middle Tennessee to get laid back. Did volunteer work for Watertown Volunteer Fire Department, and then got on with Lebanon Fire Department and was involved with them for 7 years before I finally said, I need to take a break.
Yeah. So did you work anywhere before getting on Memphis? On fire?
No.
So Memphis was the first. How old were you when you got into it?
25.
25.
Fire departments and police departments have been in my family. I've got my father, policeman, stepfather, fireman. Got brothers, cousins, uncles, nephews have all been fire and police. So it's just I'm inundated with first responders.
Well, it's in your blood. It's in your DNA.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way to get away from that, it sounds like. And it speaks to the amount of how much you love the job, just the fact that you volunteered after retiring. I did that in reverse. Actually, I was a volunteer for a while before I started on a paid fire department. So it has to be that kind of thing for you. You know, obviously you're not getting into fire, much less a Memphis Fire Department where it's super busy. If you're looking for fame, if you're looking for riches, that's not it. You're doing it because you love the job. Absolutely. Right. So how about with you, sir? When was it you started, Mr. Larry Graham?
I started in 92. Anyway, I was 27 years old, and I never thought about being a firefighter, but I hung around Mark, and it seemed like he never worked. So I said, hey, this is a pretty good gig going on here. So I jumped on band, and at that time I was living with Mark, and hey, it was great 27 years.
So you did 27 years. And so you alluded to a question that I have that's following up right in a second here, but we'll go ahead and go to it. How long have you guys known each other?
Since too long.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Not long.
So y'all been on a whole nother loop. Y'all back on the loop.
We both worked on the Mississippi River.
Oh.
And I worked for one company, and they did another company. And so started hanging out, and we started playing ball together, softball and flag football. And then I needed a roommate, so Mark let me move in with them, and that was 87, 88.
Yeah, somewhere I was trying
So
to
y'all
think.
teenagers or in your early 20s?
No, we were married, divorced, and with kids, and
Y'all been down
trying
some
to
roads.
refigure. Yeah.
So y'all were like the perfect odd couple in a way.
Absolutely.
So you guys had some similar lifestyle activities and been down some roads, and then y'all like, hey, look, let's just be a team together.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And my parents died when right after high school, both my parents.
Sorry to hear that.
And Mark's dad was a police officer, but he owned a company on the Mississippi River. And I started working for them eventually, and his dad just took me in like another brother.
Okay.
You know, and so I always called him Pops.
Oh,
you know,
so he really did adopt you in a way, yeah. Did you have other brothers and sisters,
Yeah,
Mark?
I got two brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they take you in too? They beat you up and stuff just like a brother would?
I could outrun them.
Oh, fair enough. That's good. Yeah. You ain't got to be the fastest. You just can't be the slowest sometimes. That's all that matters about.
So you may know Pete. He's on the fire department.
I do know Pete. Absolutely, yeah.
So the ones that don't know him, I'm the pretty one.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, but he's the strong one, right? No, I'm just joking. Y'all can see this is on video, so y'all can see this, guys. Yeah, fun story. I'm going to tell a fun story real quick. I don't think you would know this. So I had shared this with Mark when we had a conversation not long ago, but it's funny because when I came on, I used to be in better shape than I am now. I'm kind of I carry my weight differently. Let's just put it that way, Larry. Don't judge me.
Round is a shape.
I'm more rounder now.
Round is a shape.
That is a shape. That is a fact. So when I got on the job, I was pretty strong. I had a lot of endurance. I could run for a long ways pretty quick. I thought, dude, Memphis has got them a gym right here, baby. I'm coming in. I'm about to bring some thunder. And I go into the station. Is it 27s over there in Fraser? Where were we at? 28. 28. Y'all were at 28s. And I got detailed over there. First said I'd been detailed out of my station. And I'm thinking, because at my station, I was kind of up there in the strength. I go in, and this guy here, Mark, is on the dip bar with two 45-pound plates, just ripping it. There's another guy in there doing bench press. I said, what? Y'all done sent me to a world gym. What is happening? And all of a sudden, I realized I'm a small man on a very tall totem pole. Yeah. But that was a great inspiration, and it was a great moment, too. And then you guys, I mean, look, y'all had the years of experience ahead of me. What you said you came on in 92?
I did, yes.
Yes. And what year did you come on?
87.
87. So y'all had a good stretch, a good bit of more years than by the time I had gotten onto the fire department. And it was guys like you, and I say this 100% sincerely, you need strong mentors, people that know the job, but you're also approachable. You were every time I ever knew anything about you, whether it was me or one of the guys that I work with, Billy Maddox had come on with me, Tony Harrington, there was a handful of guys that came through my class that made themselves through some ranks, and then some of them went to Shelby County, but you guys were always approachable, and you were willing to teach and train the young guys and had patience with us. So from a personal perspective, and this has nothing to do with Amazing Race, but I do want to say thank y'all, because that's so important. And hopefully there are people out there right now hearing this that are up and coming. Maybe they've been on 10 years, 12 years. Just know their voice and their impact they're having right now, and the young guy stays with them forever. I'm living proof of that, obviously. So when I got on, Memphis was not different than it is today. Very busy, lots of calls, constantly running. You guys had some stuff on your off time that y'all like to do. Mm-hmm. What were some of your hobbies?
I own about 100 acres down in Mississippi and had horses and stuff in there. So, and I'm a huge hunter. I hunt almost every day during deer season. Okay. And then I've always had motorcycles. And Mark and I actually belong to a motorcycle club.
What's it called?
Fire and Iron.
Fire and Iron. And I knew that, but I know my listeners don't know that.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we've been from coast to coast on those motorcycles. In fact, this year we ended up in Canada.
That was last year. Yeah. Last year we went to Niagara Falls. Well, we hadn't been there. Let's go. So we went.
Just off on a whim.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Get good gas mileage on those things, I bet.
Yeah.
Pretty good gas mileage. Yeah. Is there like an iron butt challenge or something like that?
Yeah, if you go 1,000 miles in 24 hours. We've come close, but never tried it. Never cared to. That ain't.
Yes.
Actually,
I got you.
This year, I didn't register, but coming in from Niagara Falls, I made it in 23 and a half hours, and it's 1,300 miles.
So I guess you qualified, not necessarily going for it, but it happened. Yeah. It happened. I knew there was some stipulation. I didn't know what it was. So y'all ride regular still to this day?
Yes.
Obviously. Yes. Yeah. Besides that, any other hobbies y'all share together?
Together,
drinking cold beer.
Okay,
well, we did play golf till he hurt his elbow. Now he won't go play golf with me.
Oh, dang!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sucked.
So when I retired and moved to Middle Tennessee, that created a 250-mile separation. So we don't see each other as much, but he's still my brother.
Yes.
So the fire department creates a brotherhood, as you know, that you just don't get in any other occupation. And it's forever.
It is forever.
If you call me at 2 a.m, I'm going to ask you when and where you need me. I'm not going to ask why.
That's absolutely correct. And that's, I think that's standard for most people that have been on the fire department for sure. Right. So then this is a great moment. You guys got to come together today and hang out at the table.
Be with you again.
Yes, I get to see you guys, man. This is awesome. So, all right, here we are. You guys, y'all have known each other forever, and you've clearly got a lot of different areas of bonding that y'all have experienced, as we just shared. And at some point, and so this actually precedes the Amazing Grace, you get a wild hair. Can we call it wild hair, Mark?
It absolutely was.
You got a wild hair at the fire station one night, and you decide to apply for the Broken Skull Ranch with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tell me about that.
So we're at the station, and I'm the old lieutenant, and I'm sitting at the table, and the guys are lined up in front of the TV, and they're watching the Broken Skull Ranch, and they're hooping and hollering, "Get up, you can't do this." And I just told them, I said, y'all need to apply for that. A bunch of badasses sitting there.
Yeah.
Any one of you could do all that. And they said, well, you do it. I'm sitting there on my computer, so I just applied. Next thing you know, I got a call. Next thing you know, I got a follow-up Zoom, and it progressed. And the whole time I'm thinking, why would they pick me? And lo and behold, that episode happened to be they were recruiting for first responders. So we were all fire
And you didn't even know that.
Had no idea. Even when we got there, even when I got to Hollywood, had no idea. But I'm looking around. We all load up in a van. We can't talk to each other. We go to the Hollywood doctor, and they're checking us out to sign us off to say, yeah, they're healthy enough to do this. And I'm looking around, and I see the red stripe on a tattoo. Then I see 343 on the back of
the number
phone.
from 9/11 for those that don't know. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm thinking, then I see the blue, and of course you see guys there that just are posturing. So I kind of realized then that these are all fire and policemen, and maybe some military, but they were military, but they were currently so that's how I got on. That's Steve Austin, fantastic man, very respectful to first responders. It was a very good experience. Although I got my butt kicked in the first event, and I got sent home.
Yeah, I was watching you, by the way. I was watching, so I didn't know anything about the Broken Arrow at that time. I keep calling it Broken Arrow. It's Broken Skull. Broken Arrow was a movie with John Travolta, and that is stuck in my head. The Broken Skull Ranch, and I remember watching it. And there was like a water challenge or something. Y'all were running back and forth in.
We were.
Right? Yes. So that tells you that I was watching this thing, right? 'Cause you didn't tell me that part.
No.
And when y'all went into this, what were like the rules or the parameters? They just kind of gave you guys, because y'all went head to head.
Yes.
How did that get chosen?
Yes. Random draw. I guess I don't. It was random to us.
To you guys.
I'm sure they picked, saying this was random.
Yeah.
But it looked like they were kind of pitting size for size.
Okay.
And we get up there, and we line up on the opposite ends of this water trough. There was a bell on each end, and on 3, 2, 1, go, you had to go into and through that person to go and ring that other person's bell. And when we get into this trough, I realize it's got a pebble bottom to it. So when we hit, my feet slid out from under me, and I went under, and he drove me back. That's my excuse.
That's your excuse.
My shoe was untied. Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time you weren't old, but you were older than the other guys there, right?
I was the oldest one there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that I remembered them saying. And they had a lot of respect for you. Now, I want to hit on a couple things here. First, what you said about Stone Cold, I have heard nothing but that from every person that's ever met him. I don't know if you guys knew this. I think I told you, you may not know, downtown Bruno Brown. He was on my show not long ago, and we talked about that. He's good friends with Stone Cold and, of course, The Rock. The Rock gave him a truck down the road later, and there was a whole story about that. But he just talks about how Stone Cold is just your next door neighbor kind of guy, just down to earth, friendly with everybody, never thinks of himself as being above anyone. And so it sounds like you're validating that as well.
Yep.
And big into first responders, military, stuff like that, does a lot of things for those guys. So here it is. This is the part that I love, because I do a lot of leadership shows, and I'm big into leadership. I think that the greatest leaders are those that lead by example, not the ones that just know the answers, but they perform. You sit there and you tell your guys, y'all running your mouth, why don't you just sign up
Right.
They don't. You do. You're on the show. You come back to the station. What's the word? Because I got to hear it. What are they saying?
They were proud of me.
Yes.
But it's like, you should have. They still want to.
They still want to razz you, right?
But that's what we do as brothers.
That's what they do. But it's like, you got that upper hand now. You're like, dude, I took action. Where were you?
Right.
You should have done it. And I know, look, there's some guys right now, some youngsters on the job. They're like Hercules out there. They should be out there doing some of these things. So that is impressive. You took action. You didn't know what you were doing. Was that your first time with Hollywood?
Yes.
So that experience went okay?
Yes.
All right. So here we are. Fast forward down the road. What year was it you actually applied for Amazing Race? Because I know how these things go. You apply and there's time and lag and all that other stuff. Because I know it was you that did it. You told me that part.
Yes.
And you're just hanging out, doing your own thing, mind your business on 100 acres and going hunting. And there's a call from Mark. So what year was that?
I can't tell you. Probably 4 years ago. And the reason why I've applied to Survivor 3 times.
Really?
Of course, the Broken Skull Ranch, but Tough as Nails.
Naked and Afraid.
The Amazing. No.
Are you serious? No. I'm like, no. Look, I was gonna have to go down a road on that one.
That is one that everybody says you need to apply, and say, you get out of here with
Bro,
that stuff.
I don't even want to be halfway clothed and a little nervous in my backyard for 24 hours with bugs biting me all day long. So
with the Amazing Race, I did apply with my brother-in-law, who is John Murley, a fireman, and we got to moving forward, even the two of us, and they decided to put strangers together. So they said, nope, this is out. So that was probably 2 years before we applied.
So you have to reapply each time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
You're pretty much discarded after they get their
group for that season.
Yes. Yeah. And so I get Larry. Larry, let's do this.
What was your thoughts when he calls you and says this?
No, he said, "Hey, boy, you want to go around the world?" And I thought he was talking about a cruise ship. I go, "Yeah, sounds good." You know. Next thing I know, we're having to do videos. And
that's awesome.
But he was in. I think when you do these things, when you sign up, it's kind of like scratching a lottery ticket. If I win $1 million, I'm going to do. It hits you in the face when you start talking to producers and they call you, okay, now we need you to do this. Now we need you to, now we're going to look at your social media, and I get 1,000 dings. They we can't do this. It was a big learning experience.
So they look at your social media.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We are representatives of CBS Network and The Amazing Race.
Fair enough.
So if we got stuff on there,
I see what you're saying.
Something crazy and bizarre, leaning any direction.
Could be about anything, right?
We're representatives, right?
Yeah.
So they saw a lot of stuff in mind. Oh, got to move that. Oh, that's got to go. And they literally just went away. Pulled it out of because all I've got is Facebook.
Yeah.
What did we have? We had something else. MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Oh, man, you're going way back now.
So they brought it up.
So they said, you didn't put this down, but you had a MySpace account. Oh, yeah. I don't think I ever used it. I just did it because it was something new. But it was a very big learning experience.
You know, between 30,000 to 50,000 people apply a year for the show.
I didn't know it was that many. I figured it would be a lot, but that's a lot.
Survivor is second only to Survivor. Anyway, and so chances of you getting picked or even where a producer starts calling you. And in fact, Mark was on a motorcycle trip, and I was somewhere and got a call like, "Hey, this is Hollywood, and we want to talk to y'all about coming here." And at first you're like, "Are you serious?
Is this spam?"
Yeah. And
Chris, is that Chris?
Yeah. Is you jacking with me, man? Stop it.
But it goes from there. It's like all of a sudden we're having to redo stuff and background checks, having to get shot.
So this is a process.
Oh, it's a big process.
Yeah. So how does it start? You send in just you fill out a questionnaire or something?
It's a detailed application.
Okay.
And the whole trick is the 2-minute video.
Okay.
You have to submit a 2-minute video.
Do you have to be together?
Don't have to be, but it's highly recommended. Okay. So if we didn't, it would have to be like a Zoom video type
where you're side by side,
both in the same camera at the same time. And that's how it all begins. And I would say if anyone's listening, that you got to be creative with your video. If I got on there and said, I'm Mark Crawford, I'm 63, I'll be 64 next week.
Not very interesting.
I'm a firefighter, and I'm next.
Yep.
Yeah, because you just have people they probably go, well, thousands, and they just, something has to jump at them. And what actually got us, the lady told us, Mark told me, said, hey, sing Rocky Top. And I just started singing.
So we were from Tennessee. That saw him singing. Have you heard him sing?
I have not, but I'd love to have a demo here for the whole world.
No,
there's only a few million listeners. They won't mind at all.
No, yes, they will.
Come on.
I can't carry a tune with a bug.
That 3 seconds on that video caught one producer's eye. Thought, these guys might be fun. So we slid over this way, and everybody else is getting shuffled the other.
How about that?
So it's just luck of the draw.
So it's not always necessarily the occupation or the angle. It could just be the entertainment.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah. I've thought about putting in an application. I have a friend that's a professor, and he and I are professors, so it's like that would be an interesting thought, but it sounds to me more like they just want the crazy, dumb Chris Camp if I put an application in, which I have a lot of that in my back pocket.
That's all I know.
That's all I've ever been.
Right.
So that's what I got to be then. I just
so you're pretending like you're something.
I got to be me. So I try to pretend to be professional, but I fail at that all the time. So I just got to let it go.
My wife still asks me when I'm going to grow up. So I'm working on it, babe. I'm working on it.
Give me a few more years.
I think I will.
Yeah. Well, I've got faith in you. Nothing but faith. Yeah. So then when you get through the process and you start to have some phone calls and that, what is the feel for you and your family? Because now here's the other side of it. So initially it's just two buddies filling out stuff with an idea and, hey, let's see where it goes.
Right.
Now it starts to become real. Now it involves family.
Yeah.
So what's your family think about it, Larry?
Well, what's crazy is you have to have your family sign stuff.
I can imagine.
Because everything's top secret. Nobody had any idea where we're going, and you can be gone for up to a month.
Oh, I was going to ask that in here. So you have to sign away at least a month of, I can be a part of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you're having to get people, a lot of people in my family, I didn't tell, because why put the burden on them? Plus, they signed a thing that says they'll have to pay $1 million they tell anybody. So they don't play.
Who wants to go up against Hollywood?
Right. Exactly. You would lose.
You would lose.
But it was a neat experience. It was totally different.
So, but your family was on board, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, go for it. What about yours? What'd your wife say?
But think about this, a psychological side about this. And when we were talking to the psychologist, he said, okay, think about this, guys. After the show airs, you're at the grocery store. Somebody comes up to you and confronts you because on leg 3, you should have hit the green button. Why'd you hit the red button? Yeah. This is reality, and this is what could have happened if Larry hadn't got us kicked off on the first leg.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that part here. We're going to get to that in a minute.
But then our families, when the kids go to school, of course, our kids are out of school, but teachers, our grandkids go to school. People know us. People watch these reality shows and they live and die by these reality shows, and they take it personal what you do and don't do.
Yeah.
So that was something that hit us like, wow, I didn't think about all these layers that really matter.
Yeah, and you have those folks that
mind-boggling.
And I'm just going to say this. I don't know this to be a fact. I have a strong feeling on this. And I'm not going to go into this detail because this is not about me at all. I was on that Small the Blocks entrepreneur show, which was a streaming network reality show. It's not on main network. You guys were on big time network. This is a streaming network. But you go into that and sometimes you can see that they're going to pit somebody to be a villain. They want somebody to be the hero. They want somebody to be the funny person. They want characters. So if you are pitted as the villain or something, or, the bad guy, if you will, now you got to go into the real world and have a lot of people saying mean things.
Yeah, they bring that up.
Yeah.
Like one of the questionnaires, would you how would you feel if you are a villain on the show? How
so they even mentioned that this could be a thing that happens to you.
Yeah. They could ask us to lean that way. And about the show, Jonathan, a really, really great guy that went a long way on season 37. He is a great guy. They twisted and snipped to make everything that he did look bad. And
they did it well because I watched the whole episode. I watched the whole season.
He's catching havoc.
And it did look like he was a turd to his wife. It did look that way.
Yes.
It did look that way. So that's interesting. And that's good then that you're pointing out he's a great guy, because I have a lot of followers and those guys will see this. And so that's important to know that, reality is not reality.
Right.
And that's important a lot of times.
Near reality.
Yeah, so that's good then. I will say that whenever I started doing podcasting, just to co-relate as far as like the outside world, I get people, especially on YouTube more particular, not so much on my social media, because a lot of my social media are people that know me.
Right.
And they're not trying to beat me down on stuff. But YouTube, the people out there a lot of times don't know me. And I get hate messages several a month.
Really?
I just block them. They don't mean anything. I just delete next. I don't even respond. There's no benefit to trying to get into an argument with somebody you don't know anyways. That's what I've always said. Why waste your energy or time? But there's going to be haters. So it doesn't matter how good you are or how positive you are, how much, positivity you're trying to bring to others. It's always going to be a hater out there. Yes. So putting yourself out there is something you had to consider. And then obviously what you talked about was, how does that affect your family? So did your family have any effects from it? But y'all didn't go deep, so you probably didn't get a lot of backlash on that.
Everybody felt sorry for us.
They felt sorry.
It worked out good for us.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like right after the show, I belonged to things like the Amazing Race, just on Facebook. And so many people saying, oh, man, I was sick when y'all two, I could relate to y'all.
Had a lot of supporters in there.
Yeah, well, we're the two old guys.
Well, I think that's a true story. You're the underdog story, so to speak. Right. And we're going to get into some of that first leg that y'all went through. But it is easy to pull for the underdog. If you think a person is humble and they're working hard and they come up short at whatever that thing is, you're kind of the butthead if you think, oh, I'm glad they failed. Right. So then the people aren't going to voice that either. So when you get into the first day, all right, so y'all show up in L.A. Is that right? That's where y'all started out from. Right. What's the feeling? Is everybody talking to everybody then at that point?
No, they keep all the
So the contestants don't get to talk. Oh, this is good stuff.
They're not supposed to talk. Larry and I stayed in trouble because we'd be in the hallways where they're saying, shh, nobody say nothing. We're like, hey, who are you?
Yeah.
Shh. But they literally, and part of this was the tail end of COVID crap, but they quarantined us for a week. But during that week, so they would put us in a hotel room, and I had to stay for 5 freaking days with this guy in a room about as big as the studio.
Wow. That's tight. Y'all, if y'all weren't best friends, y'all better figure it out.
That's right.
Exactly.
And they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people will freak out because when you go there, you don't have a penny to your name. You don't have a cell phone. You have nothing.
So y'all don't have a cell phone the whole time?
The whole time. You don't have a phone in your room. You have a TV.
Kind of nice.
I bet. But there are those moments where it's like, I just wonder what my wife's doing. I wonder how my kids are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the real. Did they let y'all contact home?
No.
Wow, that's interesting.
And a lot of people freak out over that, especially the younger people.
I can imagine.
They can't do without their cell phones.
Sure.
So, and what a lot of people don't realize, we were alternates the year before on the same show. And they had flown us out to Los Angeles, and we really thought we had made the show. But there's 2 other guys had a better background. They had handicapped children, and they were great. They were military, and they did great on the show. But they told us, well, y'all be alternates, and you have 2 hours be on a plane. Because every year people get sick or family gets sick, but we didn't get called. But they called us the next year and said, hey, we want y'all back.
So y'all didn't reapply for the next year, or you did?
Well, they just said, y'all still interested? We said, yes. Okay, y'all are still in the system.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So once you got the call, then they're like, all right, so if y'all are interested, we're going to keep you here. Right. If we come back to you, we'll give you a call.
Yeah. Right. And they've never done that before. And, take the alternates back. So,
but it was still the process all over again. We still had to talk to the psychologist again. They still had to do a background check because.
So this was years in the making. Then.
Yes.
Wow. So when did they tape? Do you know what year they started taping?
May of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
23. So they did the filming in May. Then they started last year, this year. I'm old.
When did it come out? In February?
It came out this year, 2025.
Well, we filmed it last June.
24. Yeah, 2024 in May. We did the filming. So from May until the first episode.
So almost a year, y'all had to keep it buttoned up.
Yep. Yes.
That's not easy to do.
No.
That's not easy. They could easily let that slip.
Right. And you contain it.
Yeah.
You kind of just don't talk about it. So when somebody comes up and because family's family,
Yeah.
And it's like, Lisa said you were on The Amazing Race.
Don't listen to her. That's trying.
So you just kind of don't confirm nor deny. Just
we're going. Hey, did you go fishing this week? Just change it completely.
Right.
Yeah. So that's that, man. Those are all real questions, and I know other people out there are wondering this stuff that's never been involved in this kind of thing because it's also come across me. When I saw you post on Facebook, y'all were going to be on The Amazing Race. I think I was in my living room. I was like, shut the front door. Because I don't cuss. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then I called my wife in there. I was like, do you see these two guys? Because we watch The Amazing Race every season. Every season. I don't always watch Survivor. Sometimes they have people on there that's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Over the top.
Yeah, just too much. Just like, I'm going to cut everybody's throat. I'm like, yeah, great, whatever, next. That is not interesting to me. But we always watch Amazing Race because there'll be a handful of teams that you just want to see do well. Whether it's like what y'all said, y'all were the older guys that were in there fighting against these young bucks. And sometimes you just have some great storylines. So we always watch it. And when I saw that, I'm like, my first thought was, I got to have these guys on a podcast. They've got to talk about this. But then I also knew they ain't going to be able to do that until the season's over.
That's right.
So that's why I reached out to you first. And you were like, yeah, that's cool. And then I reached out to you, Mark. And I was like, this is going to be fun because I've been a fan of The Amazing Race for a long time. So you get the call. It's ready to go out to L.A. What do they tell you to pack? That's one of the questions I have here because I've always been curious. That you see these folks walking. They don't tell you what to bring.
But you can only, whatever you can carry. That's all you can
Whatever you can carry in a backpack. What about clothing? Because
just what you can carry in that backpack.
Now they would tell you we had to get pre-approved. Like we were the red team, so we had to take pictures of our clothes and send it to them. And they're like, okay, that'll work. Or no, we don't want that. Or so, and like we took maybe 3 red shirts and 2 pairs of shorts.
So you kind of had to coordinate with the color they gave you.
Yes.
Yeah. But the thing about it, you didn't know if you were going to be in Alaska.
That's what I was wondering.
You don't know.
So they do have attire. So we had to go to a tailor and get fitted and have that submitted so that if we go to the Antarctic and we're in a cold area, they know what size.
They can give you a jacket at least. They ain't going to make you freeze to death.
Well,
but they say
it ain't one that's
guaranteed.
extra small or extra big. It fits me. So when you notice in the race, when you run up to a station that has a specialty apparel, each one has their own name. So you go to yours with your name.
Yeah.
That's why they do that. It's tailored to
so they're looking out for you.
Oh, yeah.
But you still have to carry. Do you ever get to wash clothes?
Well, you carry, if you want to, you sink wash or tub wash.
So they don't, you're not staying at a hotel somewhere that has washer and dryer service.
No. So you can't go out your room.
Right.
You're in your room unless they escort you. Because when you're there, about every other day, we had to go somewhere and take pictures or talk to security because you're hanging out with professional security people. They're with you 24 hours.
Wow.
And you have to go through things, what you can say, because you're going to countries that don't play.
Oh, yeah. I was in the military, and when you would go to certain countries, you had to be briefed on their customs.
Yeah. Right.
Because there's things that, of course, in the Western world, we do that's not offensive.
Right.
But you're in the wrong part of the Middle East and do some stuff.
Yeah.
It could get you in a lot of trouble, right? So I get that. So that is interesting because it sounds like you guys were y'all were like prisoners in a way to the show at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you were claustrophobic, the walls are going to close in on you.
What Mark and I did, we knew we were going to be sequestered anywhere from 3 to 7 days. They tell you that. Mm-hmm. And so we took extra clothing that when they say, okay, hey, it's showtime, we just left all that in the room.
Oh, that's smart. So you bought some stuff that were throwaways.
Yeah.
Disposable. We had a separate bag that was disposable.
Oh, smart.
And, so everybody else was wearing their stuff like, oh, look at them. So we'd come out like when they would bring us out of the room to bring us into a little conference area to talk to. It may be security, what they have. It may be game rules. It might be just whatever they're briefing us on. They bring us all in together. Mm-hmm. They got little tables, so each team is at little tables. So we're looking around and looking at them, and we're saying, "Oh, look, they're dressed in their gear. They're already wearing their stuff." So a lot of them started out in dirty gear, and so we at least thought about it. We didn't think about much. We thought about that.
So that's a good point then. Looking back now, if you could talk to yourself in hindsight, what's an item that you would not have taken, and what's an item that you would have said, "Man, I wish I'd have had that"?
Well, come to find out, watching, we took vest, long sleeve shirts. Well, they didn't go anywhere that was near cold. So we could have, left a vest.
But you don't know where you're going, right?
But see what Mark and I did, I don't know if you realized it, we only took one big backpack.
I didn't notice it. So you only had one. So y'all can combine.
Yeah.
Larry had a fanny pack.
Yeah.
And
I did notice that before. And Alicia, my wife, she'd be like, hey, why does that team only have one backpack? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So that answers that.
you don't have to carry. It's more weight. The more bags you got, the more it's just heavier.
And we wear the same size.
Oh, that's good.
So, that helps out too.
If I could go back again or tell anybody that's applying for something like this, I have a camel pack.
Yeah, the water thing.
Yep. I would have that. I would carry that with me. So to get into the game, we ran around L.A. to get to the airport. Had to figure out how to get to the airport. Then we had to buy tickets. And then we realized we're going to Hong Kong. That's a 14-hour flight.
God, yeah.
Okay, so we're in, and we don't get to go in there. We don't get primo seats. We're sitting
with all the other people,
and we're sitting in seats that have been assigned to us. So I'm sitting in the middle seat of three, and I got two little Hong Kongians on either side of me.
Yeah.
And so we raced around L.A. until the flight left at midnight.
Wow.
So now we're on the flight for 14 hours. I had the little people on either side of me, and I didn't drink enough water. We get off the plane, and we're in Hong Kong. It's time for leg 1, 3, 2, 1, go. Now we're running the race, and I have to have water.
Yeah,
I'm a little prima donna with that.
No, I'm with you.
The humidity is probably 90-something% over there too.
Y'all looked hot. From the TV, y'all looked hot.
It was miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they don't give you water. You can get water on the plane.
You do, but this is an all-night flight.
Sure. You're trying to get some sleep.
And you don't
sitting straight up.
Just overwhelmed with everything. And I didn't force
So that's something to
myself
think about
drink.
if you're making yourself.
And I didn't think about it till I saw Josiah, one of the guys. We're doing our thing. I thought, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
I thought about going over, sneaking some of his water.
Hey, man, what about a little bit of that right there? Yeah. What about the race? Would they give you a bottle of water if you needed it?
I guess if you stopped and asked, but it wasn't like you had the...
No, that's when you're in the middle of the
the water boy wasn't with us on that trip.
I got you.
So by the time you realized, and I don't know, Larry come up with water from somewhere when we was doing our little dance thing. He said, here, boy, and I'm like, oh, God.
And one of the producers, I said, hey, can we get some water? And she said, sure. And she ran, got it, and brought it back. So
it looked kind of funny because, and I didn't think it because I needed water.
Yeah.
But it was two different water bottles. I'm thinking, this looks kind of shady. What the heck?
It's all vodka. There it is. Well, so then what about food? All right, so that's part of it. How do you get drinks on the race? It sounds like, so do you have opportunities to buy stuff?
Well, you don't have money. The only money you have is every leg, they allot you so much money.
What about if you're hungry?
They figure out.
You get fed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did carry protein bars and stuff like that. That's what the fanny pack was for, to carry our snacks.
And you're running so much and you're so concentrated, you don't think about food.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking? Because the second we got off the airplane, they don't let you run through the airport anymore. You have to go through
I did notice that. They were like doing the penguin fast walk like you would if you've eaten some bad Indian food. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was happening was people trying to move up in front on the airplane. Like, hey, give me your seat up here in front so I can get off before the guys in the back. Because seconds matter in this race. It's an all-day race.
It does.
But seconds matter. And so people are running through there, and other countries don't play that.
Yeah.
And so now you go through everything, you kind of just walk, and they'll line you up and say, go. But it's always right next to the door going outside, running to the taxis, stuff like that. So
they wait till everybody gets together? Because they don't always show that on camera.
They do and they don't, not always.
Yeah. Okay.
It's of course, we didn't get into it far enough, but being a super fan of the show, and I know, we know, they, at some legs, they segment, they give you, all right, 15 minutes later, the next team, 15, next team, where they do have separation.
Yeah.
But where we were involved, it was like, all right, everybody together? Okay. Go.
Yeah, and then
so
y'all were after it. All right, so when you come up to one of your first challenges, and you have like roadblocks and you have detours, there was this tower thing. All right, so when y'all come up and you tear the thing, how do you decide who's going to do the challenge, whatever the challenge is?
Well, let's go back. As soon as we're leaving the airport, it's said in the clue, run to a red taxi. Had to take a red taxi.
Okay.
Or blue taxi, whatever color taxi it was. We took off running, and a lady in front of me stopped. And when I stopped, I hyperextended my knee. And I was like, oh, God.
Larry's old.
Yeah. Anyway, but
look, I've hyperextended a knee getting out of bed, so I got you, man. I know.
Anyway, but we got to the taxis and all, and the first thing we did, we had to go to Buddha. We had to run up all those stairs, and we did it, and then when we got had to take a ferry. At that time, so it kind of gives you time to get all back grouped up. You might get 5 minutes out, 10 minutes out, but if you have to wait, a ferry only runs every hour.
Yeah, I've seen people getting stuck behind train times and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, and then Mark, he said, "Man, let me run up it because my knee." And I said, "And I don't like heights." So,
sure.
No,
that's valid. Trust me. Some people are like, "I don't like heights."
Yeah, I was on high-rise rescue, but I don't like.
Yeah, it's okay. Look, I was on sort, and I didn't like confined spaces. Anytime I had something like, dude, I ain't going in there.
I'm the same way.
I don't want to do that one.
Yeah,
you're selective.
But no, Mark ran up that thing like a monkey. So
I saw it. It was impressive, and it looked difficult because it was raining.
Yeah, it was wet.
So
wet bamboo.
Yeah, and how high do you think that was? Because it's hard to tell. 20 feet, 30 feet?
Oh, no, it's between 40 and 50 feet probably.
I was up there then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and so where it's a reality show that's a controlled reality, if you go back and play back and watch it again, some of those harnesses were really pulled hard in the front where the belay line is.
Yeah. Yeah, we noticed that some people were going up like Spider-Man.
I didn't feel mine getting pulled.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have wanted it that way. I feel like it's a challenge. Let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, look, you don't go on the Broken Skull Ranch looking for an easy way out.
Right.
So you come into this thing wanting to face it.
In my mind, and I've never really focused until I saw that. Till I saw some of the people
not having to.
They couldn't do it. And the frustrating part is sometimes the show, and it's the producer's discretion, they can assess a time penalty if you don't do the challenge. And sometimes they just let you get away with not doing it.
Yeah, I noticed this year I didn't see a single time penalty. And in years past, they would sometimes do a time penalty. They couldn't do the challenge, whatever it was.
Right.
The two brothers, God, I'm forgetting their name now.
Mike and Nick.
Yeah, Mike and Nick, they got on that thing where they were having to spread the hay.
Oh, yeah.
And they couldn't find their little thing.
Right.
And I heard them say a couple times about doing a time penalty. And then I don't know why they did they finally get a time penalty? They ended up being in the field when Phil came and got them and said, y'all are out. That's what it was.
Right.
So I was like, why are they not just doing the time penalty? They've been out there forever. So it was hours and hours.
Yeah.
But all right, so you guys, you make it through the bamboo thing.
Yeah.
And it was at the next station. Was that the roadblock or was that the detour? What was the second one?
Splitting the road?
Yeah, the split in the road. That's what it was.
That was the first time they
fork in the road. That's what it was. Thank you. So I was getting there. It was like, I can't remember. I should have just remembered Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra says when you come to a fork in the road, take it. I don't know what that means. So you guys did that. You took it and
hit dirt.
There's no way to know what teams you're going to go up against when that happens, right? So now it's kind of.
We're in like sixth place at that time out of 14 teams.
Right. Oh, y'all were doing well at that point, for sure.
Yeah.
And so you don't really know, did you have a clue what the challenge would be, or did y'all have any kind of influence, or you just pick one?
One of them said dance, another one said dance and sing.
When we got to the fork, it said, do you want to sing or dance?
Yeah.
And the funny part about it is, Larry and I both openly said, because they always asked through all these questions and stuff, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge? Our biggest challenge, but they always seem to do singing and dancing later in the game.
Yeah.
And we said singing and dancing, and guess what the first leg had in it? Singing or dancing. Pick one. Well, if you heard Larry sing, which you won't do, we figured, if anything, because we're in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
That would be a trick to sing a Hong Kong song.
I can't imagine.
And so we figure we can dance. We can't dance, but let's go there.
Yeah.
So we put our name on that and we took off that direction.
So you did have a little bit of an option, and you could only have so many on one and so many on the other. So you guys had
it was literally
you had a
7 and
choice.
7.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is a little bit of luck of the draw to that too.
Yes.
So you had somebody that's really strong in singing and dancing. Obviously, they're going to move through quick. So you guys get the dance, and I remember it was like this little dragon thing, and I'm not trying to mess this up too bad, but I know that they do those things for the Chinese New Year, and so there's this dance thing. How long were y'all there? Because how many times do they have to show the dance? I look at those moments, and of course it's edited, so it's just seconds, and then it shows a person's third attempt, fourth attempt. How long are you actually there doing it?
Oh gosh, I don't know. A long time. We had to do it like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's an
hour and a half, probably, maybe.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, something like that.
Because from home, you think to yourself, you watch it and you're like, that had to take a long time. When you see people, like if they're doing towel work or they're trying to put together a motorcycle, just making up some of the past things I've seen.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, but you don't know how long that takes. And then I'm thinking to myself too, if they're two separate areas, a person doing one thing, they got to get in their head saying, man, we're taking too long. The other group must be going super fast on this thing. And so it's that psychological part of it.
We knew one team, Jacqueline and her sister, we knew they had missed the ferry. So we knew we had an hour or something ahead of them, and we were hoping they would pick the same dance that we had. But our side filled up. Even though we were the 5th, ended up being 7 people. And
because that lady, I don't know if it was Jacqueline or the other girl, they were having a hard time with that. They were not getting up the.
Yeah.
They weren't.
They were not. They were not making. You didn't watch it. Did you watch the first episode?
Yeah. So no, it was Courtney and Jasmine.
Okay, the two older black ladies.
No, that was the purple.
That was the sister. Yeah, they're the ones that were an hour and a half behind us.
Yeah, they were struggling on that challenge. So you guys get through the dance thing.
Yeah.
And then it's race to the pit stop, right?
Right.
And we couldn't catch a taxi. That throws you behind.
Yep. And the time it took from getting from there to field, what is that time span? Because I know you couldn't get a taxi.
15 minutes maybe.
Oh, so it's
the taxi ride was probably a 15-minute taxi ride to where he was.
But what you don't realize is, or I don't think they showed it, when we were driving, we saw the other teams, the 2 guys and the yellow team, and they pulled in and were getting out, and we're about to bail out, and the taxi guy wouldn't let us. There was a bus there, and they have to let you out against the curb. And we had to wait for that bus, and we're watching them run. Well, Mark and I jump out, and we take off. They drop their backpacks. You can't drop your backpacks.
Yeah.
So we thought they're going to automatically be disqualified. And between the brothers, the yellow team, and us was 47 seconds getting on the mat.
It looked short, but you never know if they've edited, but it was that short.
Yeah, it was 47 seconds.
And of course, the camera catches you with the leg issue and the knees eating at you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, God, Larry, do it, baby. You can do it. Y'all were running. Y'all were giving it everything you had.
That's right.
And I was throwing, I don't know if you felt that from Mississippi. I was throwing positive vibes to you at that moment.
6 months too late. 6 months too late.
It probably was 6 months too late, obviously. So then you guys show up on the mat, and y'all were like, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And then the controversy with the backpack. And of course, I think to what you've said already, it's always the discretion, right?
100%.
So producers have these ideas, and then maybe they put some rules in place, but then the rules are flexible. And let's face it, too, and this is the reality, non-reality part of it, and it's the same thing. Even though my show was a streaming thing and it was not as big, there were definitely players in the game that had favorable businesses. Mine was about entrepreneurship. So it was about the business model, and people in that network of professionals, they wanted to see certain people succeed.
Sure.
Because they knew that was going to benefit the overall program. Right. So I know that there's that flexibility part. Now, you smoke it and you get there, they can't do anything about that, I would imagine. Right. So like you didn't have the hiccup with the taxi cab. Sounds like there's a good chance you would have probably been successful. And we've seen that on several other shows where you never know where the edit versus reality happens, but a person misses a turn and they go down and they turn around, and now they're having to come back and find the place, and they were like 2 minutes behind, and you see the one person that was in front of them on the mat, and then they're running up.
Right.
And they know, man, if I hadn't missed that, we'd have been there. So there's an element that you can control, and sounds like there's some areas that
a lot of these shows,
not so much.
It's not like, okay, can you jump over this fence or not? You know, a lot of, it's a lot of discretion. You know, but we knew the dancing and singing, we were hoping to be more like grabbing, 200 pounds, dragging a dummy, or something. That's,
putting the fire out.
Why is this not in my wheelhouse, baby?
Yeah, driving a tractor, or shooting a deer, something like that would have been great. But hey, it is what
when
it
I watch
is.
that show too, I always think, man, these kids that can't read a map, and I say kids because it's young generation, they can't read maps and they can't drive stick shifts.
Yeah.
I always think to myself, if I'm on the show, those are two areas I can crush. That's not a problem. When I got on Memphis Fire, we didn't have GPS. Nope. You were flipping the book and spinning it in different directions, figuring out which street to go to. So you get really good really quick.
We even told the producer, because you meet with Channel 3 or CBS, the main people. I mean, you're doing Zooms with them. And they're in a room, and it's 20 of them, and we're talking about the top 20 people on CBS.
Yeah.
They're like, why will you do well in the show? Is like, we read maps. Every day we can drive stick shifts. My truck's a stick shift.
Yeah.
We can,
but we can't dance.
But we can't dance or sing.
I think about it. I think my weaknesses when I was just relating. It's really just spiders. So as long as I don't do anything with spiders, I feel like I can figure out a lot of stuff. But if you put spiders in the mix,
so knowing that, if you get on a reality show, they're going to have you eat spiders. That's going to be one of the challenges. Yeah. So get ready.
No, I can't do it.
So you got to lie. No, I love spiders.
No, that sounds delicious. Give me another tarantula.
I'm scared of a filet mignon.
Yeah, that's right. Don't make it rare.
I was saying like the Amazing Race Australia. They have one over there, and one of the things they had to do was to get a pass, free pass, where you get ahead of everybody. Will you pose naked and let someone draw you?
Oh, snap.
And I said, hey, why couldn't we have done that?
This is going to scare the mess out of that person. Y'all ready for them to be scarred for life?
But
Here we go.
I'd have taken a heck of a nap. I'm just going to sleep. Yeah.
That's great. So no regrets, right? It was a great experience, I'm sure. And I remember at the end, they're interviewing you guys, and there's an element of emotion from you, Larry, because you realize you did something great.
I want to back up before Larry gives you whatever he's going to tell you. Yeah. So Larry, at one point we were talking to somebody, and he said, Mark's going to be the first one to cry. Because I do get emotional. I'm passionate.
Yeah, I mean, when you're passionate,
life.
I get it, yeah.
But, so now he can say what he wants to say.
But it was him.
Well, Rolling Stones actually interviewed us and asked, why did you get so emotional? And my quote was, hell if I know.
Well, it's just emotions, right?
Yeah, well, it really is.
You can't always control an emotion. That's why it's an emotion.
For 2 years, we've been training, doing all this, and you lose over something, couldn't get out of the cab quick enough. Just something so, and I don't know, and I didn't want to let my brother down.
Sure.
It's stuff like that.
Cry. He's going to cry.
And, he was Rocky Top.
That's it. Sing a happy song. Look, I get it, though. You go all in on something, and you want to see yourself do well at whatever that is. Success comes a lot of ways. All right. So it's not always holding the trophy up. It's like knowing that you faced something that was very difficult. You went and did further than you ever thought that possible you could have done, whatever that thing is. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's academics, it doesn't matter. I'm just relating this to life in general. But when you face that, and maybe in the moment you're disappointed, you have some time to look back, the experience grew you, I'm sure. So give me something you took from it, Larry, and I want to hear from you, Mark. What is something from the show that maybe it gave you, a tool in life or just an experience?
Let Mark go first.
Okay, Mark, the hammer to you. So I know y'all didn't know all these questions I was going to ask.
So I knew reality is I didn't feel like we could have won it. There was some really, really good people, smart, quick, young, fast, healthy.
Circus LA performers.
But by the same token, my frustration is getting put out when we signed contracts.
Yep.
And in those contracts was written, very detailed rules. And then we had to sign the initial, the bottom of every page. And so we're entering with this contract. So I studied that and I knew it. And the reason why he cried and I didn't was because I was frustrated right there on the mat, because before Phil could say, we've been eliminated, I said, wait, we got our packs. Yellow team didn't. Yellow team dropped them. You can't see them. It's that detailed. You feel while standing on the mat, can't see the personal items is what they call them.
Sure.
Then you can either give up your spot and go back and get them, or you don't finish the race with them. You finish the race with what you're on the mat with.
And I've seen Phil do that before. Be like,
absolutely.
You're the seventh team, but you're not officially checked in, or however he would say it, and then be like, you still have to, and then give them whatever it is, and they got to go out and do it.
So they went. So Phil said, hold on a minute. So all the cameras stop. He goes over and he circles with all the other producers, and they have their little discussion, and he comes back and says, nope. No, but the end of the day, it's all the last sentence says it's the producer's discretion. They can rewrite their rules as they want to. So it's like I was very frustrated when I walked away. Has it deterred me? Not a bit. Not a bit. Matter of fact, I've signed up for another reality show because my daughter, she pushed me. Dad, we got to do something.
Yeah.
So the Fox Network has Extracted, and it's they've had the first season. They're taking auditions for the second season.
What is that? What is that show?
It's where 3 family members get together. One family member goes out into the woods to survive. The other 2 are in the control center, and they do things against the other teams. It's just 12 teams again, like everything else.
Yeah,
and they can do things to win things that can be crated out to their family member that's out in the woods. Tough.
It's like a loan, almost.
Almost.
You know, somebody's out there. It's not quite as. They do furnish you things at least, you know, but it's pretty.
You ain't got to trap your own food.
I think you can. You can. So you can be a. They were sent weapons, bow and arrow or a spear, where they can go out and try to catch things. Yeah. If you were lucky enough that your family gets fishing line and hooks, that could be sent out to them. But anyway, it's I think that the application process is probably closed, so I can talk about it now because this would not influence Fox Network from
very good. And you've not started anything or been selected yet, so
no. And so for that, you know, it hadn't deterred me a bit.
Yeah,
I love doing.
What is it about the reality show thing? Is it the adventure?
I think it is. I think a little bit of that. It's like being on the fire department. When you show up at 7 o'clock, you don't. When that tones drop, you don't know what you're fixing to be hit with. And I love that adrenaline. I love not knowing what's behind that curtain.
Absolutely.
That's just something that drives me.
It's the adventure in life. And you know, if you don't embrace those moments that can make you feel uncomfortable, push you out of your comfort zone, you're really never growing. That's a big thing for me. That's why I challenge myself, and I try to do things that sometimes I even question my sanity on. I'm like, why in the world would I want to do this? Like running a 50-mile race. I don't know, but I want to see if I can do it. And so, you know, those kind of things are exciting. And if you fail, you probably learn a lot in the process. Yeah. I get why you would have some salt about the situation, knowing what, look, on the fire department, by the way, guys, and if you're on the fire department, you know this to be true. You know the rules forwards and backwards because you never know when you're going to accidentally step in it, and you want to be able to protect yourself. I'm just speaking, not that it ever happened to me.
And
maybe.
we stayed there.
Probably all the time. So clearly I could understand that, but I understand, too, the fact that you have to move past that because there's only so much you can control. Recently, I was watching the softball game World Series, and girl overstepped home plate. She missed it completely. I'm just throwing this in because this is a moment where the other team could feel really salty. And the umpire didn't see it, but the other team saw it, and they challenged it. And then the umps go and they spend 20 minutes, and they come back and say that's not a play that's reviewable, even though the player did overstep home. The call stands safe. So even the umps admitted she missed it, but we can't overturn it. Yeah. That doesn't feel fair. Right. So I get it. It sucks, but in the end, you probably learn some stuff from that maybe will help you on the next adventure. Right. Maybe on this, what did you call it again? Was it?
Extracted.
Yes. So word that I was going to call expedition, which was going to be completely off. I am from Mississippi, so it almost plays the same. All right, so here we are. We're getting close to the finish line. I think I had a couple more things here. And I usually don't read my notes too much, but there was something in here I knew that I wrote in that I wanted to ask you guys. The flyback from China, that's what it was. After the end of that leg, what's the time span? Did you guys get to explore China?
No. They put us on a plane the next morning and shipped us out.
Right away.
The coolest thing about that
Yeah.
Mind blowing. So we're at the airport fixing to get on the plane. So I'm looking at when we're going to get back into LA.
Now they give you your phone once the next morning. Yes. They gave us $100 to eat on and your phone. To get back to America.
And they're like, see you later.
Yeah. So I looked at the phone and it said, you will return in LA yesterday at 10:45.
So what you got to do is go.
We did time travel.
You did time travel. You should have went and seen what the lottery numbers were. Just show them. You're like, hey, I know these lottery numbers from tomorrow.
That's right.
But, we're old. We're all old firefighters. Wouldn't have the bank account to go to Hong Kong otherwise.
Oh, that's
we got to go to Hong Kong.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Did you get to see anything or take a picture of anything? That's the thing, too, about not having your phone. No pictures? No. Do they take pictures for you?
They probably did.
Just what you see on the internet.
Yeah.
God,
that's it.
That part would suck for me.
Yeah.
I would hate that because you're probably seeing some amazing places along the way for anybody that does these kind of shows, and you don't have the picture memories of it.
And now also, they flew us out to End City, which was Miami. We can tell you now because it's been aired already.
Oh, yeah, at the end, yeah.
Yeah, and we were supposed to only been there for one day. We ended up being there, 3 or 4 days, because that's when they closed the airport because of all the floods.
Oh.
Literally flooded
the
airport.
Yeah.
So, but they wouldn't let us have our phone there.
So you couldn't even have your phone there?
No.
So for 3 or 4 more days, no phone. Right. When you finally got your phone back, was it just filled up with all kind of stuff?
Nah. We're not important like that. We're not like you.
Well, my stuff's not important. It's just filled up with crap. Usually about 5,000 spam calls a day. So
I think when my wife applies for stuff, she puts my email address on.
That makes perfect sense.
A lot of random crap.
That does make sense. Yeah. So obviously, Larry, your friend here didn't deter him. He's going after some more. What about you? You think you'll ever do another one?
No.
That's a pretty quick answer. So if I need a partner, you're out on me.
I'm out. I'm sorry.
Give me a call.
Give you a call, yeah. So I think at some point I probably will apply for Amazing Race. I thought about Survivor, full disclosure, and what I realized was I'm first world country. Usually about 3 a.m. every morning I eat a bowl of Cheerios. They're not going to have that on the island that I go to. So I'm like, no, I probably need my Cheerios in the morning. So I'm not going to be able to do Survivor.
But you know what's crazy? Being on this show, we were in, North Carolina on a motorcycle trip a month or 2 ago, and I was sitting with a guy, and we went to eat at a restaurant, and there was this black lady sitting on the other side, and he looked at her and said, hey, this guy's famous. She said, I know, I've been looking him up.
That's cool.
That
is cool.
She's like, yeah, I watched y'all, and is your partner here too? And I'm like, man,
that is funny. You never know who's really paying strong attention to that. There's shows that we've watched and we've ran into those characters. I say characters, the people, the humans,
right.
But the character for the show, obviously. And one of the things we used to watch was, it was The Biggest Loser. And I actually ran into several of the contestants on there because we watched that religiously back in the day.
Yeah.
And we ran into some in Chicago. I ran into one in Virginia Beach. Because I do races, and so we would be somewhere, and they were showing up at the races to do so because they had lost all their weight and that. So it was pretty cool to meet them and talk to them and see what their experience was. One last thing before we wrap up here.
So on The Amazing Race, we were the biggest loser.
You were the biggest loser. So y'all have a whole nother angle now.
Actually, we placed 7th.
You did play
14.
That's true. That is true. You play 7. I like the positivity here. This is the silver lining around the cloud.
Always.
So the final thing I had written down here was, what was it like when y'all did your watch party? Because I wanted to come out to it that night. I can't remember what I had going on. I couldn't make it out. Y'all did a watch party for the first episode.
Yes.
Was that place packed out?
We had a lot of friends.
I could imagine being firefighters.
We had, I think it was 80 people that we knew personally there. And there's other people we didn't know, but they had seen me on CBS.
Yeah.
And so they showed up. So
that's pretty cool. And so they got to experience your episode with you.
Right.
Seems to be, that would be a fun time too.
Well, in the watch party is just all about the social gathering because you can't watch it. Everybody's talking and noise and the volume's down on the TVs, but it was a fun experience.
And what was neat is because of the show, I've heard from probably 40 or 50 people I haven't talked to since high school.
Right.
Oh, that's cool too.
Like, oh man, I saw your butt, and that kind of stuff.
That is fun.
Cool. Positive outcome.
That's right. Positive outcome. You can't convince me y'all didn't have fun. It sounds like you had a blast.
It's just a wonderful adventure.
Yeah.
And just the world, put yourself out there. And that's, for everybody out there in your viewing world, put yourself out there.
Right.
Don't Don't say, oh, man, I could do – no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Don't assume your
Sign
results.
up.
Always go for it. Give yourself a shot. You know, it's one of the things I teach my kids all the time. I say kids, they're adults, but young people in my class. And that is, you know, in the end, doesn't matter what the outcome was. What did you learn in the process? Right. And that's where the prize is often, is how did you grow? And if you didn't pay attention, you probably didn't grow. So pay attention to the process.
And I got to go to Hong Kong.
And you got to go to Hong Kong. You guys are, now you're famous. And now you've been on the Coach Camp podcast.
Oh,
this is everywhere.
Makes us famous.
This is worldwide. So now you might be in England next and be like, I saw you on that podcast thing. You never know. You never know. So what's next for you, Larry, as we wrap up? Any final words for the people out there?
Actually apply for stuff like this. Okay. I mean, thousands and thousands of people apply, and they picked us. Yeah. So don't think you can't make something. Mm-hmm. And it was fun. Just all the stuff, even our background checks, you know, it was like stuff was coming up. They're like, hey, I was like, dang, I did that in 1984. Right. You know, So
they're the FBI. Turns out Hollywood's the FBI.
Yeah, we're old. Yeah.
And so it's neat, just the experience. I can say, hey, I was amazing. I have the T-shirt. It's kind of like having a Harley T-shirt.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
I got the T-shirt. So it's pretty cool. And my wife really loves it. You know, she goes, did you see my husband on the...
That is fun. That's cool. Well, look, I got to be honest with you. I'd have had you guys on just talk about fire stuff. I just knew this was an even better experience for y'all. So I was like, I gotta see if I can get y'all in here. Because I have a lot of friends that do watch the reality shows and just knowing the behind the scenes stuff. And then what it was like for you guys to be able to connect and do such a thing. Mark, what would you leave my people with as we wrap up?
I think is what this gave us, no matter how it looked, we were the first ones out. Mm-hmm. After doing this, I can say, I can look now, the next thing that comes knocking on my door, I can say a lot quicker, I can do that. I did this, I can do that. So somebody that just puts herself out there, it makes it easier the next time to put yourself out there. And I know, I can tell you, the craziest thing I've done since I've retired, because I put myself out there. And if you ask me to do something, I'm going to say yes. Hunter Smith, his wife, Christina.
Yeah, he's on fire department.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They call me. I'm in Middle Tennessee, retired, taking it easy. Hey, man, look, we're getting married. We want you to officiate the wedding. Would you do that for us? We'd be honored. Sure. I get off the phone. I thought, what have I got myself into this time? But it's the excitement of just putting yourself out there. So that's what I would say. The more you put yourself out there, the easier it is, and the bigger the world is, the smaller it gets. It just get exciting.
I think you guys are actually living proof that anything can be possible. For folks out there thinking I would apply to something, but I probably wouldn't get picked. You don't know if you don't try.
That's right.
You don't know if you don't try, and then you don't know how good you're going to do if you don't go after it. So y'all have been doing that for years. All the tools that the fire department gave you, I'm sure, play into everything you do on a daily basis. I know it does for me. And the mindset and belief and the strive to live life, because life is short. That's something we see on a very intimate level, is how short life is. You get this one shot at it. Go out there, get after it, get it done. I will update my world out there about this guy right here, Mark Crawford. He's got some big stuff on the agenda. We're not allowed to talk to it, but I will. This is a tease. That's what you do in life. You do a tease. He's going to be doing some big things. It's very positive for the world. I'm looking forward to hearing about it, and I'm looking forward to sharing it. Yes. And when that thing takes off,
I'll be back.
Come back on here. Look, by the way, y'all don't know, he drove down from Middle Tennessee to be on the show. That's humbling to me. When anytime a person travels, you came from where? Memphis area? Bartlett. So when y'all travel down here to Hernando, Mississippi, little bitty old place to hang out with me for a second and share the mic, it is not lost on me. It is not lost on me. Your time is valuable, and you guys sharing this with me and my viewers, super important.
I want you to know this. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Because the people that don't really know, because if they just watch one or two episodes, maybe they don't know your full backstory. But you were on the fire department, and your career was cut short because of injury. And you spun that. You could have laid down and said, I'm just broke. But you spun that, and now you do something so incredibly positive. It's that's who you are. You're Coach Chris. You're Coach Camp.
And you ran 50 miles.
I walked a lot of it, but I got through 50. I got through 50 miles, and I'm still breathing.
That's it.
So that matters too. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys, and look. Good luck to the rest of your adventures out there. There'll be more adventures. Whether or not you're on a reality show, Larry, there'll be more adventures for you, sir. I know there will be. Hunting. You know, come in and talk about, there's a bear in Mississippi now, so I don't know. Maybe they'll start having bear hunts out here eventually.
I had a bear on my property you remember when they kept seeing the one in Hernando years ago?
It's here now. It's back.
Well, it kept showing up on my farm. I had a couple of pictures of it. And I told the game wardens about this. Oh, no big deal. Yeah. I go, what? See, one got ran over by a car the year before, 2 miles from my property. So
I don't advocate for just randomly killing animals, but if you get infested in an area, people got to go hunt for them. So
that's right.
Anyways, well, thanks, guys. Thank you to my listeners, always tuning in, being a positive voice out there for other people. I'm going to ask you right now, please go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape,